This is From Now On. I'm Lisa Phillips. Just a heads up, this episode contains discussions of intimate partner violence and physical, emotional, financial, and psychological abuse. Some may find it upsetting. We encourage you to take care of yourself. Love is supposed to feel safe. It's supposed to be a refuge. It should feel like a cozy, comfy home. But what happens when the person who promised to love you becomes the one who destroys you? It doesn't happen all at once. Abuse happens little by little. It starts small, little criticisms disguised as a concern, a slow erosion of confidence masked as love. And before you even realize it, you're questioning your own self-worth, your own reality. And for many women, pregnancy becomes the moment when the mask starts to slip. You're exhausted, vulnerable, growing life inside of you, and instead of being cherished, you're met with resentment, cruelty, and control. Your changing body becomes a target for demeaning words. Your exhaustion is used against you. You're called lazy, ungrateful, too emotional. And when the baby arrives, postpartum depression can become another weapon in his arsenal. He tells you you're too sensitive, too broken, too difficult. You start to believe it. But here's the truth. Love doesn't hurt like that. Love doesn't diminish you. And when you finally step away, when time, therapy, and healing clears the fog, you start to see it for what it really was. Not love, not partnership, but control. A performance designed to keep you bound to someone who never truly valued you. And that's when the mask fully shatters. When you look back and realize he never loved you at all. Today, I'm speaking with a young woman who has walked through the fire and come out stronger. She's reclaiming her voice, navigating co-parenting, and sharing her story to help others see the truth sooner than she did. Because no one deserves to mistake control for love. Let's get into it. Welcome to From Now On. Today's guest is a passionate advocate for breaking the cycle of domestic violence. Having survived 2 abusive relationships spanning mental, emotional, financial, and physical abuse, she draws from her experience to help others recognize the signs of abuse, find support, and reclaim their self-worth. Inspired by her own upbringing with a young mother who also endured violence, Taylor Windmon is determined to change the narrative for future generations. Through her growing TikTok platform, she offers education, empowerment, and hope to those seeking a path to freedom. I am so grateful today to welcome Taylor Windmon to From Now On. Welcome, Taylor.
Hi.
Hi. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm really excited to be here. I'm a little
Awesome.
nervous.
It's okay. Just a chat between,
Yeah.
2 friends.
Yeah.
So tell me, when you were little, what was your home like?
My home life had its up and downs. I had a single mother. My dad lived in another state, and my mom, unfortunately, had slipped into a very abusive relationship when I was in 7th grade through sophomore year. And it really rooted into my head what I thought love would look like. And she was a very violent woman. I used to count her beers as a kid just to keep an eye on how things were going to happen that night. But it was rough, but there was a couple times where it was just me and my mom. And when it was just us, it was really good. We were very happy together. She's my best friend. But yeah.
Did you have any big dreams?
I did, actually. I always wanted to work with children. I really love kids. I either wanted to be a kindergarten teacher or like a preschool teacher or even work in daycare. I used to tell my mom as a child I wanted to have a lot of money when I was older so I could have a farm and adopt a bunch of children and just live on my own. And that was my big dream as a kid.
So at 19, you started dating someone and you ended up pregnant within 2 months. How was your relationship like before you got pregnant, for those couple months, and then after?
When I met my ex, we had met on, it was just Tinder, but I was out of a very long-term relationship. I was, before I met him, my ex, my other ex-boyfriend was very verbally abusive, and he was older than me. And so there was some authority issues there as well. And when I met my ex-boyfriend, my children's father, I thought he was my Prince Charming coming to save me. He was very sweet and nice, and he took me out on these trips and these dates that my other boyfriend would never do. And I was really excited. I thought I was head over heels with him. But he treated me really well at first, and I thought that that was it. I was going to marry that man. I had full plans to.
And then you got pregnant.
Yeah, we accidentally got pregnant within 2 months. I'm 19. He's about 20. We're terrified. He works at just like a warehouse job, and I'm working at a dead-end job that doesn't pay me much. I was living with 2 roommates who were my best friends. I went from being a 19-year-old girl with 2 cats to being a pregnant 19-year-old girl with 2 cats, and I was terrified. I even told him that I understood if he didn't want a baby right now because we just had met. But I knew deep down that I couldn't have an abortion. So I made it clear that if he wanted to leave, he could, and I would do it on my own because I wanted my baby. He insisted on staying and said he was going to marry me and that we were going to make a family and be happy together. And I believed him, but it was not the case.
So how shortly after did things turn?
So during my pregnancy, it was a little rough. I ended up having to leave my job. I got really sick. I had HG, which is like severe vomiting and nausea throughout the pregnancy, and I wasn't able to work. And so I was living with my mom short time and couch surfing a bit. It was really rough on me. And he ended up selling his mom's house, who he lived with, and they bought a home together for me and our family. And at first, during the pregnancy, everything was great. It was a really smooth pregnancy, but towards the end, like once I had my baby, he started to get a little violent, and things just changed quickly.
So his behavior didn't change till after you gave birth?
No, during when it was just us and his mom, he was okay. It was kind of like the stress had gotten to him once we had our baby, and he wasn't able to hold that anger in anymore. He couldn't pretend to be who I wanted him to be.
So in retrospect, were there any red flags you wish you had seen, or were there any red flags you had overlooked?
Oh, yes. There was quite a few. And at the time, I didn't know that they were red flags. Like I said, I watched my mom be in an abusive relationship too. I just came out of another abusive relationship. And so I wasn't fully aware of the things I had to look out for. But he would mention he had anger issues a lot. And I thought since they were never towards me, that's not a problem. But I remember him storming through the house and slamming things and hitting things and cussing, and the way that he would speak about people in our day-to-day lives, like if someone cut him off while we were in traffic, or if someone was just being rude in public, he would say some vile things about these people, like to me. And I wish I would have saw that and knew that that meant that he could be a violent person. But I thought, well, it's not towards me, so it's fine. And then
that makes sense. That makes sense that you thought that way.
Yeah, I thought, well, I also think that like some people do have anger issues, and not every person with anger issues is abusive. And I just happened to end up in an abusive relationship with a man who does have anger issues. But he would also get a little weird when we drove too. He would drive really fast and kind of crazy when people would like make him mad on the road. And I never saw that.
So he was very reckless.
Yes, very reckless. And I didn't take that as a red flag. I just thought, oh, well, he's an adrenaline junkie. Like he likes to do crazy things. And that doesn't mean that he's mean.
Until he turned it on you.
Yeah, until he turned on to me.
Do you remember like the first time it happened?
It gets really blurry. I think of it like a glass wall. When I'm living in my abuse, during my abuse, I've actually lived behind this glass wall my entire life.
Yeah.
Because I've only ever seen abuse and I experienced abuse my whole life. And for the longest time, I was seeing everything clearly through this glass wall, but it's really hard to get all the details until like recently when my glass wall started to crack. But from what
when you have clear eyes now, you can look back and
some people call it the fog, some people call it a wall. I always say it's like a glass wall because when I started to, realize what was happening, it started to crack. But it's really hard for me to find the exact first time that he hurt me. The one time I do remember, we had just got back from a really long camping trip. It was a week-long camping trip. I love camping. I love being in nature, and I had the greatest time. The problem with that is that my ex did not like to leave camping. And so when I was the one in charge to get us all packed up and go and like
Right.
have to tell him, okay, we have to go, he used to get really upset. And that
Because he
day,
didn't like camping.
he loved camping. He didn't want to
Okay.
leave the campsite. He didn't want to go back to our
Oh,
real
he didn't wanna
lives.
okay.
And so it would always start an argument. And I was like, I had to be the adult in the situation. But we had gotten back from camping. And at the time, his family was living with us too. And I can't even remember what we were fighting about. I think it was something that had to do with unpacking the car. And he got really angry and violent fast. I remember him punching my calf over and over and over again until I had this huge bruise on my calf. And I didn't really think of anything then because it wasn't in my face. And the abuse that you see and I've experienced and that you see on movies, it's always in your face and it's a violent, scary thing. But he was just punching me in my leg and it confused me. I was 19, 20, so I was just a kid.
And when you were saying stop, he didn't stop?
No, and it hurt, but like it wasn't like I was sobbing or anything, so I didn't realize that that was abuse. But then it got a little more violent. The one thing about myself is I am going to protect myself. People always think that women who have experienced abuse are all like these very docile creatures and like they're not going to protect themselves, but I do. And I remember he tried to come at me, his hands around my throat. That was his favorite. He loved to choke me. And so he came at me with his hands up and his door is cracked. His brother is standing in the corner, like in our living room, and his wife. And they see me through this cracked door. And I remember his wife getting up to come help me because my ex was coming towards me with his hands out. And I heard her husband say, no, mind your business. Like, mind your business. And she listened. She sat down and he came at me. She told me the next day that the only reason she sat down was because when he came at me with his hands out, he tried to put them on my throat. I pushed him and he fell backwards. But
so she thought you had it?
She thought I had it. Okay. And I remember the next day I told her, because I started doing research on strangulation. And this was after that woman, Gabby, the van lifer, had been murdered by her boyfriend. And I really started to look it up because I was like, this is crazy. He tried to strangle me. And I had read something that said, once a man strangles you, he's more likely to murder you. Wow. And I told his sister-in-law, if I were to die, I sent her the link, like, it's him. It's my ex.
That's scary.
It's terrifying. But he was a completely different person when he would strangle me. His eyes would go black, I swear. And he has blue eyes. But it was like I was looking at a demon, just a completely different person.
And how old was your daughter around this time?
She was a baby. She was like maybe a year old or so. And I think she was playing with her cousins, like in the living room or something, or in another room. So she didn't see. But it was really scary.
That is very scary.
Yeah.
So during this time, after the baby, and he's starting to abuse you, you were going through postpartum depression as well.
Yeah.
Did he use that against you?
Oh, yes. He thought that I was mentally ill and crazy. And he couldn't find any reason why I would be depressed. But I remember that he would leave and I would be afraid to stay home by myself. And I had so much anxiety around being a mother. He used to break me down a lot, tell me I was a bad mom, I was mentally ill, and I was not doing what I needed to do as a mother. And once I started to experience my postpartum depression really badly to the point that I was experiencing suicidal thoughts, I tried to open up to him because he's my partner and I needed support. And so I asked him and told him what was happening. And at first, like, he was in a good mood, so he was really nice to me. But eventually, after we would start arguing and I would tell him, I'm going to leave you with our baby because you're terrifying, he would tell me that he was going to take me to court and take her away from me because I had postpartum depression and I was a bad mom. And I believed him. I was so scared of leaving him and him taking the one thing that kept me going. Because in reality, my children saved me. They really did.
But when you're going through this depression, I mean, was he helping you out? Was he just expecting you to do everything?
I was the default parent. So I did all the important stuff. Hygiene, feeding, doctor appointment making, everything was on me. He was Disneyland fun dad. He got to do playing and all that stuff. But every time I asked him to clean up after our child or do something along the lines of giving her a bath, he would make up excuses on how he didn't know how to do it or he didn't have time. And all of the pressure was on me.
Mm-hmm.
I've really felt like the default parent.
Mm-hmm.
And I still do to this day, obviously, because I have them full time.
Right. Well, he expected you to do all the caretaking.
Yeah, I was
Mm-hmm.
expected to do everything with the children.
Right, but when you're going through depression, it's really hard for you to get up and want to do those things. You need
Yes.
a supportive partner to help you.
Yes, and I remember he used to use like the house cleaning on me a lot
Mm-hmm.
because he worked a full-time job and I was obviously a stay-at-home mom. I just had a
Mm-hmm.
baby. And he used to always complain that all I did was hide in my bedroom and I'd only clean my bedroom and I wouldn't clean the rest of the house and that I was lazy and disgusting and fat and just
Mm-hmm.
all these horrible things. And reality was I was a 19-year-old new
Yeah.
mom. I was
Mm-hmm.
20 at this point, but still
Mm-hmm.
I
Right.
was a
You're
kid.
young.
I went from being a girl who only had 2 cats and a job that was my responsibility to having a baby
Mm-hmm.
and a house and his mother, and it was just too
Yeah, and you
much.
needed his help and his support.
Yeah, and he didn't want to do that. He
Mm-hmm.
thought that since he was working full time that everything was supposed to be on me.
Mm-hmm.
And, he'd use that against me a lot.
So abusers, they often utilize the same forms of abuse, but their tactics are unique to the person. For the purposes of educating our audience, I want to talk through how the different forms showed up in your experience. So let's talk about mental abuse first. And how did he use mental abuse against you?
Yeah, he definitely used, like I said, my postpartum depression against me. And he would attack my body and my appearance a lot because I just
Mm-hmm.
had a baby. And I went from being like this really skinny girl to
Mm-hmm.
being more
Yeah.
voluptuous and,
Right.
chunky as a woman does after she has a baby.
Right.
And I remember him telling me how ugly and lazy I was and how he could do better and how basically I wasn't like the one for him.
Mm-hmm.
And it really broke me down because
Mm-hmm.
my body changed so fast
Right.
and I was so scared because I've
Mm-hmm.
always struggled with body issues. And
Mm-hmm.
he knew that. I opened
Mm-hmm.
up to him about it, but of course he took that as a way to manipulate me and
Right.
abuse me even more. And
Yeah, a lot of
every
times when
day.
you open up about your insecurities or
Yeah.
vulnerabilities, they use that against you.
Yeah, and it was
Mm-hmm.
terrifying because that was my best friend at that point. I didn't have
Mm-hmm.
anyone else. Like
He wasn't a
I
very good friend.
No, not at all. And my other close friends who I did have, they're all young adults, really
Right.
busy with their own lives, and all
Mm-hmm.
of them showed up as much as they could. But he was my partner. He
Mm-hmm.
was the one that was really supposed to be there. And
Mm-hmm.
instead of being there, he used my own insecurities and my
Oh, sure.
postpartum depression to break me down
Mm-hmm.
daily.
And devalue you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So unhealthy.
Mm-mm.
So did the strangulation escalate the longer you were together?
His go-to was strangulation when he would get physical, and he only got physical maybe a handful of times,
Right.
but it was enough to scare me.
Mm-hmm.
He would often like punch the walls, and he broke the door off our bedroom once
Oh my
because I was
gosh.
hiding in there. And the strangulation was really bad. And there was this one night that we got into a really bad fight. I think I
Mm-hmm.
needed some extra help around the house. That's usually where our fights would start.
Mm.
And we started arguing. And at this time, I get a little confused about my timeline with this night because I think I almost died that night.
Mm.
I think I was really close to
Mm-hmm.
being murdered by this man.
Oh gosh.
So my
From
timeline,
being strangled?
yeah, my
Right.
timeline gets a little confusing, but like we started arguing. He locked me out of the house and he had my baby alone in the house. So I had to crawl through a window to get back in. And I remember him sitting on the couch and he's looking at me and we're arguing. And I recorded this and I deleted it because it scared me so bad. I wish I kept it for proof. But
Mm-hmm.
he looked me dead in my face and he told me he wanted to kill me. He wanted me dead. He hated me. And when he said this, his eyes were so dark. Like this blue-eyed man, his eyes were so black.
Mm-hmm.
And I really believed he was going to kill me.
Mm-hmm.
I remember thinking like, oh, he has demons in his eyes. And he got up because I said something back. And he got up, I can't remember what I said, and he put his hands around my throat and he started to strangle me. And I remember seeing stars in my eyes, like the vision, and I was clawing at his hands,
Mm-hmm.
trying to get him off. And eventually he let go, but at that point I was like a little dizzy. And I remember thinking as he was strangling me and I was trying to get him to let go, is my baby's in the next room.
Mm-hmm.
My daughter, she's in the next room, she's sleeping, and her dad's about to murder me, and she's gonna have no parents. And I just kept pushing him and kept clawing until he let go. And then I just acted like nothing happened the next day because he did too. And I didn't want to think about it. The look on his face when he said he was going to kill me and he came to me to strangle me was the most terrifying thing I have ever seen. And now I have flashbacks, and that's what I see every time is his face with those dark demon eyes. And it haunts me in my nightmares as well. It's terrifying.
So you weren't able to tell anyone about it?
I was so scared.
Not even your mom?
No, I knew at that time I was really scared of leaving him because I really thought he was going to take my baby. And I also was confused. Like, this man bought me a house and he made me a stay-at-home mom, and like he took care of us by like what it looked like, on paper.
Is that because that you have the scary episodes with him, but he's also really loving and kind on the other side?
Yeah, it was a complete different switch. The good was really,
And
really
you wanted
good.
to believe the good.
Yeah, he was very adventurous. He loved to take us out. He took me ziplining. Like, we did really fun things together. And so I really wanted that. And then on top of it, I was so adamant on keeping our family
Yeah, of
together. I
course.
thought that was the most important thing because I grew up without like my father in my household, and that was really rough. And
Sometimes it's more important in your mind when you're being
and like
abused. You want to keep the family together.
And it's crazy now because obviously now I'm out of that situation. I see
Right.
it more clearly, and it's obvious it's better for me now to be by myself with
Sure,
my
of
children than
course.
in an abusive relationship. But at the time, I just wanted to keep us together, and I was afraid to tell my mom because I knew she would make me leave, and I thought she wouldn't understand. He doesn't he's unabusive. He just has anger
Oh, so you weren't
issues.
ready to leave yet.
And I kept excusing it. I kept saying he's not abusive. He just has anger issues. He's trying. And the thing about my ex is his abuse wasn't every single day. It was monthly. Like, every couple months, all of a sudden, he would get really violent. So
That's
we would,
really, really violent.
yes, and we would have like 3 months of just having, arguments where he was being mentally abusive, but not physically. And then all of a sudden, he would get physically violent again. And it confused me. I really thought that he was trying to become a better person and a better dad. And I wanted that. I wanted a family.
It seemed like you had worse psychological abuse.
Yeah. And
Because that's the thing with psychological abuse. You're completely confused
yeah, I was so
with the good and the bad. A lot of people don't understand that.
It got like a lot of merged too. Now that I'm out of it, I'm starting to realize that the good wasn't actually good. He was still being mentally abusive. He wasn't strangling me. So I thought, oh, this is great. We're happy.
So at some point it stopped.
The strangulation.
Yes.
When I got pregnant with my youngest, it did shortly. That's actually why we agreed to have another baby.
So things were good for a little while. You decided to have another baby.
Yeah, we were like maybe a month or two. Things were really good. We were talking through our emotions, and like he wasn't being violent, and I thought he was getting better. So we were like, let's have another baby. Like we want to be a family. And then things turned for the worse after that.
After the baby again.
Yeah,
And something that triggers with him.
Yeah, and it wasn't even just like after I had the baby, I got pregnant and he got violent again, and I knew I had to go. It was right after I found out I was pregnant. I was 11 weeks pregnant. He lost some sort of paperwork he needed, and he blamed me because I cleaned up the counter and he had a bunch of stuff on there. And I told him I didn't know where it was, and he started telling me that I was a piece of shit and I was ugly, and he turned to my toddler and told her that I was the worst mom ever, and started just digging into me. And
That's unacceptable.
Unacceptable. And I was angry. I was pissed because all the abuse was towards me,
Right.
not towards my baby. And as soon as it turned towards my baby, I was done. I remember feeling all of this rage just fill my body when I saw him speaking to my daughter like that. And he turned away. And luckily, my daughter, she's facing the TV, and the couch is like set up weird. So we're behind the couch, like towards the front door. And he turns away, and I get behind him, right behind him. And I tell him, you are not going to speak to me that way, or my daughter.
Good
You
for
don't get
you.
to say stuff like that to me. And he did not like that, obviously. I have an issue where I obviously speak up when it's not the most safest time. And he turned around and he started to strangle me. And he ripped my shirt. I'm still so grateful. My toddler did not see any of this. Somehow she was so locked into
Thank
Mickey
God.
Mouse. But he ripped my shirt and he strangled me. I was 11 weeks pregnant, and I pushed him off of me. He got into his car and he just left to go to wherever he was going that day.
Because you
And
stood up to him.
I stood up to him, and I pissed him off. He didn't like when I stood up to him.
Well,
And
now he sees what gets you.
Yeah.
What gets you is the
Yeah.
talking about your kid or
Yeah.
doing things in front of your kid.
Yeah, my children are everything to me, so that's what broke me. And that was the day that I actually decided to leave him. 11 weeks pregnant. I had filmed a video in my bedroom. I recorded myself talking about what happened. I'm sobbing, and my
TikTok?
shirts. It is on TikTok, I
Yeah.
think, but it was just for a video for myself
Oh,
because
okay.
I would forget the abuse. Like after a while, it would just fade away,
Mm-hmm.
and then I would go like make myself go crazy. Did that really happen? Did that really happen? He acts like it didn't happen, and if I bring it up, he just shrugs it off. And so I started to think that I was, going crazy. And I recorded this video so I could tell myself, this happened on this day at this time.
Right.
You're not crazy.
Right.
That man put his hands on you at 11 weeks pregnant, and he had no care in the world whether you were carrying his daughter or not. He did not care. And he destroyed my bedroom. So I showed the video, my destroyed bedroom. I explained what he did to me, and I told myself that I was leaving. I was done. And we broke up.
And where did you think you found that courage?
It was my daughters. I have 2 daughters. And I remember sitting in that room after he strangled me at 11 weeks pregnant. I remember thinking to myself, I have 2 baby girls, and they're going to be watching mama and dada trying to see how love's supposed to look. And they're going to go after men who are just like their dad. And I did not want that. I could not accept that. This is a long generational trauma cycle for my family.
Right, because you realize that's what you watched when you were little.
Exactly. It's what I watched when I was little. And with my mom, that's what she watched when she was little. And I don't know if my grandma had experienced that as a child, but I can only assume. It's a long cycle, and I did not want to continue it. I could not fail my daughters by allowing them to see me like that. And although it was scary, I knew I had to do better for them. And I told myself that day, I'm leaving. We're going to break up. And I did have to stay with him till I was about 7 months pregnant, unfortunately.
Why? Because nobody would help you?
It wasn't even that. I live in like such a big city, and it's really hard to find affordable housing.
Oh, gosh.
And I work remote full time, but I only get paid now I get paid a little more. But back then I only got paid $16 an hour.
Yeah.
And I live in a big city in California where that is not a livable wage.
Well, that's the problem with a lot of victims is you can't leave because you have no means to leave.
Exactly. And I just basically had to look for an apartment, and me and my best friend got one together. And that's how I got out.
Thank God for that.
No, I am very grateful. I honestly don't know if I would still be here if I stayed with him. I think that he would have went too far.
Well, good for you for having the courage to leave.
Thank you.
And that you're alive.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So how did he financially abuse you during those 7 months that you were like trying to get out?
So the financial abuse was mostly before I had tried to get out. It was when I was a stay-at-home mother.
Okay.
First time after I had my first baby. And he would often use the house payment, the mortgage, and the groceries and everything he did to bring to the table against me. I remember him telling me, because I asked for more help around the house, because even if I'm a stay-at-home mother, I feel like you should still be able to clean up after yourself. I don't know. We're both grown adults here.
Right.
Like, especially
You're not his maid.
Especially because I'm taking care of his mother at this point too.
She moved in?
She's an older lady, so she's been living with us this whole time.
Oh, okay. And you're taking care of his mom?
Yes, and she's had some health issues, so she's not fully there, and she couldn't. It's not like she could do anything about the abuse. She was stuck to. And so
how did he treat his mom?
It was odd because at the time I was the only one who experienced the abuse. He was a great son. He was a great dad to my kids, other than me doing everything by myself. He was just mean to me.
He took all his anger out on you.
Yeah, I was the scapegoat or whatever. He would take all that stress and anger out on me. And I really think it was mostly the alcohol too. But he started to financially abuse me by using the fact that he paid for everything and he had the job against me. So if I asked him, I really need your help around the house, we get into an argument and we'd start fighting. And I remember telling him, like, please just help me. Like, this is both our houses. Like, we both live here. We're grown adults. We need to keep this house clean together. It's a big house. It was a pretty big mobile home. And he didn't care to. And I remember him looking me dead in my face and telling me that I was ungrateful because most women would love a man who bought everything for them. And I was like, most of your money goes towards beer anyway. So I don't really know. Like, I felt like we were living like it was the bare minimum. He
Well,
did the bare
he's
minimum.
gaslighting you at that point.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he did the bare minimum, and he thought that was enough, and he would use that money over me a lot. And at the time, I had been vaping, like just nicotine, and so every time, it was the only thing I ever wanted. He had beer and
Yeah,
all
his
these other
vices.
things, all his vices. The only thing I wanted while taking care of everybody was just one
Yeah.
vape. I just needed
Right.
one thing.
Yeah,
and
maybe your stress release.
yeah, exactly. And obviously, it's not the best choice, but I was going through a lot. And
Okay.
he would use that against me a lot too, tell me that I was selfish to spend my money on that and that I shouldn't get vapes. And every time, like, we get in an argument, he would be like, oh, well, I'm taking your vape, or I'm not buying you this, or I'm not getting you that. And I wasn't able to get like any new clothes that actually fit me or anything I actually ever wanted because it was all his money.
Yeah, he's controlling you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it was like I wasn't allowed to make any note of anything. Like if I noticed we were having less money because he was drinking more often, I couldn't say that because it was his money. And he used that against me a lot. Every time I tried to mention that something was wrong around the house, he'd be like, oh, you're just ungrateful because I do everything. I was like, you just swipe a credit card.
Yeah, it's so confusing.
Yeah, it's so confusing.
It's like crazy making.
I really thought that maybe I was crazy and I was
Of course,
selfish
yeah.
and ungrateful because he did buy me everything and I was living in a house. But looking back now, that was not the case. He did the bare minimum, and
Yeah.
it was unfair.
It made you feel bad every time you know, didn't do what he expected you
And
to
every
do.
time I needed something, even if I needed tampons, I would feel bad. And that's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It is.
We were supposed to be a partnership, especially because he planned to marry me. If we were planned to be in a marriage at one point, we're going to share everything anyways. And you can't even share your little paycheck that you get bi-weekly to help the woman who's taking care of your mother and your child. It was such an odd, horrible situation. And at that time, I had no clue. I just thought that this was normal, that all stay-at-home moms experience this and that we all didn't have our own money. But then I started to realize that at least most people had some cash in their pocket. I had no money, ever.
But you realize now that it's not normal.
No,
This
it's
is
not normal. Like
Okay.
people who are in relationships like that, or marriages, like they tend to share bank accounts. They tend to
Yeah.
have shared cards.
And there's no control.
Yeah, there's no control. Like you guys are able to like work together to figure out where the money is going.
Good.
But then I thought that since it was his money, I was just supposed to follow suit and listen. And I did, unfortunately.
Yeah, well, sometimes when you're in that situation, you have nothing you can do.
Nothing. And I was scared. My mom, at the time, she lived in another state. And so I felt kind of alone. And I was really terrified of like speaking out towards him because every time I did, he would use the money thing
Yeah.
as a way to further abuse me or tell me he's not going to buy me stuff I need. And it was a really like unfortunate situation because I felt like I couldn't speak up.
Right.
just had
Did
to
he
be quiet.
isolate you from your friends at that point? Or your friends didn't want to come around because
So
of...
it was pretty odd because he was like in my friend group. I say my friends never like liked him much. They've always got some weird vibes from him because he just seems off,
so.
obviously. And I was like, you guys are crazy. They were not crazy.
Did
but,
you tell your friends what was going on?
I told them that we would have arguments, but I
You
never
didn't tell them
went
he was
into
strangling you?
No, I did not go into detail. And a lot of my friends had no clue. They did think he was odd because of his anger issues and things like that. They also never understood why I was with him because they always mentioned that I was like out of his league, whether it was appearance or personality wise. We were just completely different people. I'm a very kind person. I love people with all of my heart, and he's not the same way. He's kind of mean and kind of like an old man, in my opinion, you know, like that grumpy old man.
Grumpy old man at 20 years
Yes,
old.
exactly. And my friends were like, they never got it. They were like, you guys are completely different people. And they were, although they thought I was happy, so they were happy for me, they just didn't think that that was where I was supposed to be. And my friend, my best friend, one of my best friends in the world, Jen, she's the one I moved in with after all this. She was one of the people who kind of started to notice things about
Okay, good.
my ex. And she would just pop in here and there. Like, hey, are you doing okay? Like, what's going on at home? Is your boyfriend treating you nice? And I could tell that she was worried. For sure. And when I came to her after I was ready to go, she was not surprised and she didn't judge me. She just told me, okay, let's get an apartment together. Like we're gonna live together. And
Good. That's a good friend.
yeah, we did. She honestly saved me along with my mom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Survivors need that support.
Yes.
It's really hard to get out of an abusive relationship without it.
Yeah, I agree. And I was really lucky. I have amazing mothers. My mom, she was married to this amazing woman,
Okay.
my
Good.
stepmother,
Mhm.
and they are really loving and
Mhm.
sweet. I
Mhm.
co-parent with them, actually.
Good, good.
And then Leslie, my stepmother, she
Mhm.
brings in this amazing family, and
Mhm.
I love them all so much with my whole heart. And I have all these amazing friends, and I have a really good village, and all these people saved me along with my children. I don't think
Mhm.
I could have gotten out by myself, and I
Mhm.
feel like I owe everything to them. I
Wow.
It's really nice. And
You have all
even
that support now.
even now, like, we all work together with my kids. It's
Mhm.
never like just me, you know? It's always me or my mom, or me, my grandma, and
Mhm.
my cousin Ari. She's my
Mhm.
younger cousin. She
Mhm.
is a nail artist,
Mhm.
and she always likes to do my nails for me and do my
Good. Makes you feel
pedicures.
good.
Yeah, it makes me feel good. And she will. Last time I went, she actually worked it out with my grandma for me to drop the kids off there and
Mhm.
have my grandma watch them, and her mother, my aunt Nicole.
Yeah.
And then I was able to go get my nails done by my
Mhm.
cousin, and they they all fully accept me. Like, I've
Mhm.
been here since day one and I'm blood, but I'm not.
Mhm.
I'm just here from marriage, and
Mhm.
they love me fully. They love my children. My children know only this family, honestly, and my
Mhm.
friends. And it's the most amazing support system I've ever had. If my daughter has like a class or any of her extra activities and I'm really busy that day with work, I could call up like my mom, I could call
Mhm.
up my friend Levi, I could call
Mhm.
up Jen. If I need my daughter to go somewhere or get to
Right.
a class, I know someone else will come and help me.
Oh, that's so
It's
awesome.
it's so nice. I'm very
Mhm.
grateful for my support
Yeah,
system.
that's what you deserve.
Thank you.
Okay, one thing we miss because I hadn't heard of this. What's transportation abuse?
So with the transportation abuse, I actually have a lot of car anxiety. I don't like to be behind the wheel. I have a car. I've never driven it. I'll be honest.
It just sits in the driveway?
Well, we use it, but like my boyfriend drives it or my friends will drive it. I work remote too. And then my daughter's school is right down the street. So it's like
Mhm.
walking distance. So I don't really need it. I get all my
Okay,
groceries
okay,
delivered. But
okay.
I have really bad anxiety behind the wheel. I don't know what it is. Every time
Mhm.
I get behind the wheel, I like shake and have a panic
Mm.
attack. And I'm not the greatest driver. So that actually might be what it is.
Well, it probably comes from a bad memory.
Yeah. And my ex, he knew I had really bad car anxiety and
Mhm.
I didn't like to drive. And instead of just like understanding that I have really bad anxiety, he
Mhm.
used it against me a lot. He just
Mhm.
told me I was lazy and
Mhm.
like I sucked basically because I didn't drive, even though I was a stay-at-home mom at that time. So I wasn't going anywhere.
So he wouldn't take you where you needed to go?
No, he wouldn't
Yeah.
take me where I needed to go. And then the other thing was like every time I needed to ride to somewhere, he would come up with a way to make it into like a fight and we would
Mhm.
start
So he wouldn't
arguing
take you.
so we wouldn't have to take me. Or like we would get in the car and if I said something to upset him, he would start driving really crazy and like swerving in and out
That's
of
so scary.
lanes, going super fast. And um some of the times my baby was in the back seat and I
Mhm.
remember screaming at him, please
Mhm.
stop. My daughter's in the
Mhm.
back seat, please stop. And he just
Mhm.
would not care. And every time I would mention, like, you're scaring me with your driving, you're getting really
Mhm.
erratic, he would tell me, well, get your license. Get your
Mm.
license. And then every time we went to a family event and he knew he was driving way before we got to the family event, he would keep drinking, even with me begging him, please stop drinking, you're
Oh,
driving
yeah.
us home. He would keep drinking and he would tell me, well, if you didn't want me driving you drunk,
Yeah.
then you should get your license.
Yeah.
And there was a few times that he drove us home tipsy and I was terrified the whole way
Mhm.
home
Mhm.
because he also did not have his license. And so it was like a constant mess. He was always on
He's telling you
me.
to get your license,
Yes.
but he doesn't have one.
Yeah. His thing was that if
I don't
you
have
don't need
this
a
one.
license to drive, you just need to drive. And I was like, well, I'm not doing that. So I
Uh-huh.
follow rules. And he would use that drinking driving thing against me and tell me I was a bad mother for allowing him to do that. And I was like, what were we supposed to do? Just be stuck at the lake all day because you got too drunk
Mhm.
and I can't drive? And for the longest time, I did think that was my fault. Honestly, I was like, I just need to get my license. I'm so lazy. I'm being ridiculous. And now that I'm out of that relationship, I do see that I clearly have some anxiety with the
Mhm.
car. And
Mhm.
I actually want to start working with that with my therapist a bit
Mhm. Yeah.
and figure out why.
Yeah.
And he knew that. Like, he should have, as a grown man and as the father of our child, he should have been like, my girlfriend doesn't drive. She has really bad car
Yeah.
anxiety, so I'm not
Of
going to get too
course.
drunk. I'll have one drink.
Of
But
course.
no, he would
No.
just drink and drink and drink and then tell me in the car it was my fault he was driving tipsy
Mhm.
because I wouldn't get my license.
Mhm.
Like there
At
was,
least he's trying to put the fear in you.
yeah. And it was always like there was no way that he couldn't drink. He had to drink.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't stand that.
I'm so glad you're out of that relationship.
Me too.
That was so unhealthy for you.
It was extremely unhealthy. And it was through like, I was 19 through about 22 years old, 23. And it was the most unhealthiest thing I've ever experienced. I actually just started recently getting all my memories back of that time period.
Yeah, it's funny because you don't realize what you went through until a couple years later when you think about it, when you're completely out of the situation and don't care about that person anymore.
And like when I got diagnosed with PTSD from my therapist, I
From
remember
the situation.
because I got a therapist like right after I left him. And she diagnosed me with PTSD. And I remember thinking, oh, she's crazy. I love my therapist, by the way. She's like one of my close friends.
Yeah,
I feel
that's
like
so important to have a really good therapist.
she's amazing. And I remember thinking, she's crazy. Like, that's a little dramatic. I've been through so much. I don't have PTSD. That seems crazy. I'm fine. And then this year, after I've like been gone for 2 years and I finally feel like I'm safe, I'm starting to experience that PTSD.
It's because you suppress those memories.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't know at the time. I was like in survival mode. So I really thought that she was just being dramatic and that I couldn't have PTSD. That doesn't make sense. Nothing happened to me.
Yeah.
I literally
the trauma
thought
of being
that.
strangled is terrible.
Yeah. And I really thought it wasn't that big of a deal.
Well, you probably didn't want to confront it and think about it.
Yeah, I that too. And then like on top of it, I felt like a fraud. If I talked about my abuse, I felt like I did something wrong, so I deserved it, so I shouldn't speak on it.
That's not good.
But that's not the case.
No, it's not.
And after like working with my therapist for like a good year, I realized that that was not the case.
Well, because he brainwashed you to think that you deserved everything.
He took me during my most vulnerable state after having a baby, completely brainwashed me and broke my mind. And it's the most insane thing now to think about after I left. Like I really stayed through all that and he broke me. I should have not been making big decisions at that point. Like I feel like a complete different person. I look back at pictures of that girl that was with him and that's like a baby to me.
Yeah.
You
were a baby.
She was so young. She's brand new. She just wanted a family and he used that against her. Yeah. It breaks my heart. But
yeah, but you're strong though.
Yeah.
That was 3 years, right?
Yeah, 3 years.
A lot of women stay 10 years, 20 years or more.
Yeah, and me and my mom, we talk about that a lot because she has been stuck in a couple abusive relationships. And she always told me when I first left him, she told me that I was the most amazing mom ever.
Oh,
and she was so proud of me because I got out so quickly and she wished she could have done the same for me. And with my mother, I never blamed my mom for her abusive relationships. I always blamed her abusers. My mom is a very strong woman and she is very quick to speak her mind, and her exes who were manipulative and abusive did not like that. She's also a Black woman, and I feel like when Black women speak, white women, racist white women don't like it. And her ex was very racist. But she told me that I did something that she always wished she could do, which was leave early on for me. But I never blame her for that. It's a rough situation. I got really lucky.
Well, everyone has their journey, right?
Yeah. And I feel like with my journey, it wasn't just like, people always tell me that I'm a very strong woman for getting out so soon, but it's also kind of just like a chance for me. I felt like I just took a chance and I went with it, and I got lucky because I have a really good best friend who immediately got an apartment with me as fast as she could. And I worked remote at the time, so everything had just lined up perfectly. And it was like the universe or God, whoever wanted me out, and I got out.
Yeah, you wanted out.
I wanted out.
It came from you.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You said something really powerful earlier. I had realized that if I continue to have this angry man in my home, my kids are going to continue to have an angry man in their home because that's exactly what happened to me. How does it feel to be a cycle breaker?
It's a really good feeling. I actually heard that quote. It was a little different when I first heard it. It was circling around the internet, but it basically was like, if you're raised with angry men in your home, you're always going to have angry men in your home. And then the last of the quote is basically saying either it's going to be either you or a partner you bring in. And I remember thinking in that quote that day that he put his hands on me at 11 weeks pregnant, and sitting there pregnant with my second daughter. My other daughter sitting on the couch after I just got abused, and she was told that I was a horrible mother to her. And I kept thinking they're going to be raised with this angry man in their home. and either they're going to grow up and be angry, or they're going to grow up and have angry men in their home. And I can't do that. I cannot do that. I refused. And I knew then that it was time to go. And I honestly didn't expect me to be able to get out the way I did, but it is such a like complete feeling. Like I feel whole now that I saved my kids. And sometimes I do still deal with the guilt. I have a lot of guilt that surrounds that situation. But I do know that I got my girls out as early as I could. My youngest barely knows her father, and my oldest has seen me in a healthy relationship the past year, and I can see the difference in her behavior. She's a completely new girl just from not being in a house full of abuse. And being a cycle breaker is really important to me. My family's experienced so much abuse through lifetimes. I'm half Black and I'm half Native. And so even just with my ancestors, they experienced abuse, and I did not want to do it anymore. I refused. I feel powerful. I feel like I'm able to do anything because I did that.
Yeah.
And it feels good.
It does really empower you.
Yeah.
So I'm just curious, because a lot of times when women leave abusive relationships, especially ones that have been strangled and there's a lot of violence, you know, a lot of them don't get out. So what was it when you left, when you were able to leave, that he didn't do anything to come after you or stalk you, or he let you leave? Like how did you get out?
With my ex, he was very odd. It was like he understands that he is abusive. He's told me, he's admitted to me to my face. Like I'm a bad guy, he told me. When I came to him after I broke up with him and after I left, and I started to explain to him really why. I even sent him that video of me at 11 weeks pregnant sobbing, and he cried. I told him like I was going to be away from him because he was a dangerous man, and he admitted to me that he was dangerous.
So he was aware.
He's aware that he's abusive and that he has issues. That the issue is that he doesn't want to do the steps that he needs to do to make himself a better person, like stop drinking and go to therapy for whatever he experienced as a child. And
because most deny.
Yeah, and he'll lie to some people. Like I doubt that the girls he's dating and seeing know what he's done to me, and I doubt that if they ask questions, he'll tell them the truth. But like to me, he fully admits. And he did still harass me after I left him, especially when I started hanging out with my newer boyfriend. Like I told you before we started filming, my boyfriend Jimmy, we started as best friends or just friends for a while. I've known him since high school, and it just grew into a relationship. But when I first started hanging out with Jimmy after I left my ex noticed. He was like, "You're always hanging around this new dude or whatever." And he got really jealous. And at that time, me and Jimmy weren't anything but friends. So I was like, it's honestly none of your business what I'm doing. I'm a single woman. But he would say things like, I'm going to break all his teeth in his mouth. Jimmy is Mexican and Puerto Rican. So he told me that. One time I asked him to drop me off some formula because I was really busy that day working. I had tons of meetings and the kids were being crazy. I just couldn't get them to the store. And he told me to get my gardener boyfriend to do it because that's their dad now. And he would tell me to go to court and make Jimmy their dad and all these horrible things. And he would threaten him. And I remember one time he was at my apartment and he had parked next to Jimmy's car, like accidentally. I can't remember exactly what was happening, but they both ended up at the apartment at the same time. I think he was grabbing the kids. And he opened up his door to his car door and slammed it into Jimmy's car door. And I was like, oh my gosh. And he would always, it was like an accidental thing where they just ended up at the same spot. They weren't supposed to be there, but
slamming the door wasn't accidental.
Yeah, nah, not at all. And I remember he told me that that was the day that he told me he'd break all his teeth in his mouth, and that he was hoping that Jimmy would say something because he doesn't care to beat him. And he always assumes that my boyfriend is like not able to protect himself because he's a very gentle man and he's very loving to me and my children. And I just feel like that's kind of wrong. Like he assumes that he could just jump him. But that's how he harassed me, was with my new relationship.
But he never put his hands on you again?
No, never again. He didn't get the chance to either.
Good.
I've been very serious about how we see each other.
You began sharing bits of your story on TikTok. Has it been therapeutic for you?
Oh, yes. When I first joined TikTok, I was actually a stay-at-home mom at that point, and
Mhm.
everyone was doing the little mommy content of them just cleaning their
Mhm.
houses and stuff. And so I started doing that, and I made myself like a little community of mom friends who I really
Mhm.
like, just all around America or the world. And I've met some amazing women through that app, and I had a little
Mhm.
community, maybe a little over 1,000 followers,
Mhm.
and um, I also used TikTok as my diary. It was never like
Mhm.
I was seriously going on the app to go viral or
Mhm.
be famous. I just
Mhm.
wanted to like express my emotions on an app where other people could see, but like
Mhm.
not everyone in my life.
Right.
Right? I
Yeah.
really liked it and I love TikTok. And so,
You could find your tribe.
exactly.
Mhm.
And I started making little videos here and there about my abuse and about my day to day life. And I started to make myself a really good community. And
Yeah.
it was very therapeutical. I felt really good. People were hearing me.
Mhm.
People liked to talk to me. And
Yeah.
I had mom friends on there who understood me. It feels
Mhm.
good to be
Mhm.
heard.
Sure. Earlier this year, one of your videos went viral,
Mhm.
right? Catapulting you into a different TikTok experience.
Yes.
You gained followers and trolls.
Yeah.
What was that like for you dealing with the trolls?
Oh my goodness. It was terrifying. I
Mhm.
was so scared when I woke up to that viral video because it went viral when I was asleep. And I woke up, it had like 10 million views. I think it sits at like 17 now. I stopped looking because it
Mhm.
kind of overwhelms me a bit.
Yeah.
So many people
Mhm.
are seeing my face. And like I said,
Mhm.
although I feel heard, it's also like,
Mhm.
oh, now everyone's looking at me.
Mhm.
And it was scary. I went from like 1,000 followers to I'm almost. I'm at like 9,000 now.
Mhm.
And all those trolls. At first, I was a little like anxious reading these comments and stuff, but I
Was it
wasn't.
mostly guys or
Oh
girls?
yes, it was either there was very few men who commented on my TikTok, and with the men there was like a couple men who were very supportive, but then most of the men were commenting on my body and how I looked in the video where I found out I was pregnant,
Uh-huh.
commenting on my appearance and
Mhm.
just things that had nothing to do with the video.
Mhm.
And I also got some troll comments from women who were like, "Why would you have children with this man? Why would you do this? You're a bad mother." And they didn't fully really upset
Yeah.
me.
Mhm.
I've
Yeah,
been in,
because they don't understand.
they don't
Yeah.
understand, and
Mhm.
I've been in therapy for a year
Mhm.
now, and I'm very confident about who I am. I am a
Mhm.
good mother.
Yeah, I can
I,
see
I'm
that.
I'm a good person.
Mhm.
I love with my whole heart. I'm kind,
Yeah.
and that feels good. And no one can take that from me.
Mhm.
Even these
Nope.
troll comments, they
Mm-mm.
don't know me as a mom.
Nope.
So I don't take them very seriously at all. But it's still scary.
Of course, yeah. Because they can be totally nuts.
Yeah, totally
Yeah.
crazy. And I've just been deleting them as I go,
Yeah.
honestly. They don't have any room on my page.
Yeah, same though. Yeah,
Yeah,
just
I want
delete
my
it.
page to be like a safe spot
Mhm.
for everybody.
Mhm.
And the
Yeah.
hate comments are not a
Yeah.
safe space.
They can take their negative energy somewhere else.
Exactly.
So now that you're making these videos about abuse and survival, what has been surprising to you or enlightening to you?
Mm. Honestly, I'm very surprised about how many women understand me. It kind of makes me sad
Yeah.
in a way. I'm not going to lie.
Mhm.
My comments, there's thousands of comments, and they're all filled with women who are using my
Mhm.
comments to rant about their day to day
Mhm.
lives. And there's so many of us who are stuck.
Mhm.
And it's kind of an odd feeling because I feel so connected to all these victims and survivors.
Mhm.
It's like we're family,
Mhm.
and I don't know. I understand them,
Yeah,
and
special
it's
bond.
yeah, it's a
Mhm.
bond for sure. And I've been so surprised about how many women have reached out to me, like private messaged me just to
Mhm.
tell me that my video helped them or
Mhm.
helped them realize they need to go. And
Mhm.
there was this woman who actually messaged me. And she reached out to me. She let me know that she saw my video after one of her family members tried to come pick her up and save her from her abusive home.
Mhm.
And she had told them no. And then she went on TikTok and she opened the video, and it was me on her For You page.
Yeah.
And she let me know that she actually called her family member back.
Mhm.
And now she's out, and her ex has a felony, and she left him
Mhm.
because of my TikTok. She
Mhm.
saw my TikTok and she realized that we were the same.
Right, because sometimes they don't realize what's happening to them
No,
until they hear
exactly.
someone else talking about it. That
Exactly.
happens a lot.
And she said she like it was kind of like she looked at me and she
Mhm.
realized we're the
The
same
same,
and
yeah.
we're doing the same thing, and I'm
Mhm.
just like you. I need to go
Mhm.
too. And
Mhm.
I remember when she texted me that she did leave and she got out, because the
Mhm.
first time she texted me, she told me she was in the process of working it out,
Good,
and I
good.
got scared.
Mhm.
It's a very scary
Yeah.
time for for a woman
Mhm.
in abuse. And so when I got that final message of I got out, I'm with my family, my ex is in jail, I cried. I sobbed. I was like, I finally helped
Yeah,
someone.
you did.
And that's all I want to do.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I want to do is sharing my story. So I
Mhm.
really, really like to help people.
Yeah, you have such a good heart.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm. So where are you at in your healing journey now?
Well, it's kind of like a roller coaster. You know, it's not this steady pathway and it's not
Mm-mm.
easy.
No.
I'm going to be honest, it's really
No.
ugly.
Mm-hmm.
Within the past few months, even, I just started to fully experience my PTSD and my flashbacks and my anxiety attacks. And they get kind of nasty. Like,
Mm-hmm.
the room will spin and I'll just
Mm-hmm.
see all of this stuff in my head that was going on through my abuse, and
Mm-hmm.
I completely lose myself.
Mm-hmm.
But with therapy and my village of friends and family and my very amazing supportive partner, I am in a really good spot.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I am experiencing this PTSD for the first time and I'm kind of going through it right now, I've never been happier.
Yeah,
I feel
good.
free. I'm like
Mm-hmm.
able to do the things I like to do. I'm able to say the things I want to say without someone second guessing me
Yes, exactly.
or making me feel bad for feeling that way.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I've never felt more free. And my
Yeah.
children are so happy.
Oh, good.
They're so happy. It's very healing to see my kids be the way that they are right now,
Mm-hmm.
especially my oldest.
Yeah.
With my youngest, she never experienced her father,
No.
so she doesn't have as much trauma as my
Mm-hmm.
oldest does.
Mm-hmm.
But my oldest, even the last year, her behavior is just so different, and she is a lot happier.
Mm-hmm.
And
Thriving.
that feels good. That
Mm-hmm.
heals a part of me too.
Yeah.
And although it's a coaster, it's still a good coaster. I'm still happy
Yeah.
to be on it.
I think a lot of women don't realize how much a supportive partner really helps.
Yeah.
Just someone, like you said, who makes you feel safe.
Yeah, and that's what it really is. Is
Yeah. You
I've
can be your authentic self.
exactly. I don't think I've ever felt safe in my life,
Aw,
honestly.
that
Like,
sucks.
me and my mom had gone through so much together,
Mm-hmm.
and although I felt safe with her, we weren't in a lot of safe situations.
Mm-hmm.
And so, like, living in homeless shelters
Mm-hmm.
and hotels and things like
Yeah.
that, it was rough.
Yeah.
And so this is the first time that I felt safe. Like, even with a partner, I've never felt safe with a partner. And I'm able to fully heal because I have a safe spot. My partner's not going to judge me. He's not going to judge
Mm-hmm.
me when I'm having my PTSD attacks and I'm full on melting down, tears, snot,
Yeah.
everything.
He
He's just there.
He
And
helps. Yeah.
yeah, it's just nice. I feel safe and I feel like I
Mm.
finally have the room to heal.
Good. I want that for you.
Thank you.
What has been helpful for you processing trauma?
Honestly, I can't stress this enough. My therapist and
Mhm.
my village, I
Mm.
feel like after leaving an abusive relationship, it is so important to try to get some mental health if you can. It's kind of
Mhm.
hard, obviously, in our country, but
Right.
if you have the time or the money or the
Mhm.
insurance, I
Mhm.
really recommend it.
Mhm.
I feel like my eyes are finally open.
Right.
I feel awake. This entire time, my whole life, I have been asleep, it felt like, or seeing
Mhm.
everything behind this glass door.
Mhm.
And now that I have this therapist who is an amazing therapist,
Mhm.
and a really supportive partner and my close friends and family, I finally am awake and I'm
Mhm.
realizing and I'm connecting the dots from my childhood to my adulthood
Mhm.
and why I feel certain ways.
Mhm.
And I'm I'm really grateful for my therapist.
Mhm.
And honestly, that's the main thing that I've been turning towards through this whole healing process is
Mhm.
my village and my therapist.
It's so funny. If I had to answer that question, I would have said the exact same thing.
I love that. I
Yeah,
think it's
I was
so
my therapist.
important.
Like everything with connecting the dots is really important, and going back to those memories that are really
Mhm.
painful that we just suppress and we don't think
Yes.
about, but we have
Yes.
to get through it.
Exactly. I always
Mhm.
told my therapist because I have a lot of suppressed memories as a childhood, from my childhood.
Mhm.
I always told her it felt like I was just patching up a knife wound
Mhm.
and I'm still bleeding from it. And I
Mhm.
don't know like how to heal it.
Right.
And although you don't remember, so it's just patched up, you're still bleeding. You're
Mhm.
still slowly bleeding out. And that's what it felt like with all my suppressed memories. But ever since I started talking to my therapist, I'm starting to get some things back from
Mm.
my childhood.
Mhm.
And I'm just able to connect so many dots. It just
Mhm.
makes me have more kindness for myself.
Exactly.
It's not like I'm blaming me.
Mhm.
I know what happened. I
Mhm.
know why I did certain things or how I
Mhm.
ended up in certain
Yeah.
situations because I'm able to connect the
Mhm.
dots with my therapist.
Mhm.
I feel like it's so helpful to be able to take that blame off of yourself
Right.
too.
Exactly. And then now you have the boundaries,
Yes.
and now you know you can't make
Mhm.
those same choices again.
Exactly. And
Right.
my therapist, her name's Katie. I love her. She's the best. She's really teaching me how to put my foot down and not be a doormat and, say no more
Mhm.
and be this strong woman because
Mhm.
I've always been a doormat, and
Mhm.
I've seen such a change in myself within the past year. Every day I feel stronger.
I don't know
Every
about
day.
doormat, but you're a people pleaser.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah, I felt like a doormat.
Yeah. Yeah, that's not good.
No, no, not at
Mhm.
all. But after a therapist, like every day I feel like I wake up feeling like a stronger woman.
Yeah, good. Yeah, you are
And
getting really strong. I can see that.
and I feel good about myself.
And that's most important.
Yes, yes, and
Mhm.
I highly recommend therapy for everyone. It's really good for
Same
me.
here.
It's been great.
Same here. A
Yeah,
couple years ago, I'd have been like, I don't know, therapy didn't really work for me, but the
yeah,
right therapist really can
exactly.
transform your life.
Yeah, and I got really lucky. This is my first therapist, and she reminds me of my close friend Jen,
Mhm.
who's my roommate.
Mhm.
And so it just works perfectly. I'm able to talk to her so easily, and
Mhm.
she's actually probably going to be watching this because she's very supportive of everything I
Good.
do. But she has completely helped me change my mindset and become the person I'm supposed to be. I really feel like I'm supposed to be this strong woman who
Mhm.
speaks out about DV, and I
Yes.
don't want to hide anymore.
Yeah. You're finding your purpose.
Yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
When you hear the powerful statement from now on, how would you finish that sentence?
From now on, I am going to put me and my children first,
Mhm.
and I'm going to love correctly, and I'm going to be loved correctly.
Yeah, there you go.
From now on, I'm ready for happiness and peacefulness, and I'm ready to be, you know, at full peace with myself and my
Mhm.
family.
Yeah.
And nothing can touch me anymore. Nothing. Not my abuser, not any other abuser, because I've been educated and I fixed the way that I looked at things,
Mhm.
and I will never be in a situation like that ever again from
Good.
now on.
Yeah, from now on, never again.
Never again.
Whew, that's powerful.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here with me today.
Yes, thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed our conversation.
Yeah, me too. I feel you've brought up a lot of memories for me. I kind of resonate a lot with your story. Mm-hmm.
I'm glad.
I'll have to work on that with my therapist later.
I
It's
know.
like thinking, oh my gosh, there's a lot of parallels. Yeah.
Yeah, my therapist,
Mm-hmm.
she even told me, she was like, this might be a hard conversation. So
Yeah.
she told me I could give her a call if I need to. But
Yeah.
I feel like this has been a really good conversation.
Me too.
And I've connected really well with you.
Yeah.
It's been very easy to talk to you. And I
Mm-hmm.
really appreciate you giving me the time to speak and tell my story.
We're survivor sisters.
Yes, we are.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is From Now On. I am Lisa Phillips. Until next time, stay informed, stay empowered, and remember, there is strength in speaking out. And special thanks to our amazing, courageous guest, Taylor Windmon. Elizabeth Wyndham is our senior producer. Christopher Leon is the editor. Directors of photography, Corey Wynn and Larry Tang. And Jose Oriana is our studio producer. Our theme music is Many Worlds by Memory Theory. If you have any thoughts, questions, or stories about your own views on topics discussed on From Now On, email us at fromnowonpod@gmail.com. And please follow, rate, comment, and review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and YouTube. If today's conversation resonated with you and you are seeking more support in your own healing journey, if you or someone you know has been sexually assaulted, help is available. Call 800-656-HOPE. If you or someone you know is being trafficked, contact the National Human Trafficking Hotline. Text 233-733. That's Be Free. PAVE is a 501c3 nonprofit creating a world free from sexual violence and building communities to support survivors. To learn more, go to shatteringthesilence.org. Speak Out, Act, Reclaim, SOAR, is dedicated to providing a safe and empowering space for survivors of sex trafficking to reclaim their stories and stand up for themselves and each other. That's www.speakoutactreclaim.org.